Are Sims 4 infants pay to win? There's a trending Reddit post titled "The Infant Update is EA's most sinister marketing move to date," describing infants as a demo for the Growing Together expansion pack. I playtested The Sims 4 infants yesterday without the Growing Together pack, and I can honestly say it was a little bit glitchy. But for what it's worth, the infants did function predominantly fine. They do function like a slightly less independent version of toddlers, and they don't really do that much, but you've got to ask yourself, even in real life, what do infants actually do? One of the biggest things that seems to have rubbed people up the wrong way is the fact that you can't actually have a changing table in the base game. You must purchase Growing Together in order to have this. If you don't have Growing Together, Sims will perform a basic animation of changing a baby's diaper, and then the smelly old diaper will be on the floor stinking up and your Sim has to clean it up. If you have the Sims 4 Growing Together, you can have a baby changing table from which the diaper will automatically be dispensed in a bin. Also, having a playmat for infants is only available in the Sims 4 Growing Together, meaning that interactions to play with your infants in the base game only are limited. Whether or not Sims 4 infants are pay to win, I think it's important to look at what the Sims 4 Growing Together actually is about. According to EA officially, Growing Together is about a lasting impact, describing how milestones and choices you make in your Sims' lives will shape their personality traits. Social dynamics, changing the way Sims interact with each other. Family ties, the bonds between family members. Perfect for families with a brand new world. None of these things mention anything about infants and being able to change their diaper. Changing your diaper's got nothing to do with personality and milestones or memories. Changing a diaper has got nothing to do with social dynamics. Changing a diaper has got nothing to do with family bonds. And changing a diaper has got nothing to do with a perfect world by the ocean bay for family gameplay. So is The Sims 4 Growing Together pay to win? I think partially yes. I do totally understand how this Reddit post suggests that the infants are just a demo. Basic things like being able to change a diaper should not be paywalled. The little playmat for infants, I can see why this is paywalled, to be honest, because it's not like necessary. Infants can already play with a lot of the toddler toys, plus there's a couple of new things even added in the free base game update. That's fine. The popular Sims YouTuber you may know, Fantasia, said, after experiencing infants with Growing Together, it feels so weird playing with infants without it. My infant was lifting their head and crawling immediately, and I was like, wait, with Growing Together, they can't do those things until they learn to lift their head. And that was from playing the early access playthrough of The Sims 4 Growing Together. So the only way to have your infants develop naturally is to have the Growing Together expansion pack. At first, this might actually look quite unreasonable, but then we have to consider an important part of The Sims 4 Growing Together pack is milestones and growing through the different stages of life, because it is basically like The Sims 4's answer to generations. As well as infants gradually learning how to, hold their head up, children are also, losing their teeth, growing adult teeth, and learning how to ride a bike. The whole point of the pack is to have your Sims grow through life in a way that's a lot more niche and detailed. And not all players want to go through that. Not all players can be bothered to deal with that. In that sense, I actually don't think there's an issue with it being DLC. I don't think it's necessarily a problem with infants, but more so a problem with The Sims 4 in general, is that it does lack a lot of general gameplay unless your Sim is a young adult or adult. There's no gameplay for toddlers really. Even when they got an update, barely anything was added for them. Even children don't really have that much gameplay unless you have a variety of packs. So I wouldn't say it's an issue directly with infants, but more so with The Sims 4 in general. I have been looking at cross-pack features with The Sims 4 Infants update, and I must say, I am tremendously surprised that there isn't that much with Parenthood. If infants existed in the base game at the time that Parenthood was being developed, undoubtedly there would have been a little bit more content for infants with the Parenthood pack. And I think it's important to note that for a brand new player who's picking up The Sims 4 for the very first time, they do not know when packs were released. They do not know when free base game updates were released. From the perspective of a brand new player, infants simply exist in the game, and so does the Parenthood pack. Therefore, they would expect the Parenthood pack to interact with the infants update. According to EA, The Sims 4 Parenthood is about shaping your Sim's childhood. Yet that does not occur with infants. Don't get me wrong, there are some random cross-pack features that do exist with infants which are actually quite good. For example, did you know if you own the The Sims 4 Laundry Day, you can actually have reusable washable diapers instead of disposable ones that you can wash in a washing machine. Or if you have the cats and dogs pack, then infants can sleep next to pets and interact with them. So it's not like EA totally disregarded cross-pack play when it comes to infants, because they definitely did not. I just think in the number one pack that should have a lot of cross-pack play, that is the only one that didn't really come with cross-pack play. I think I noticed one interaction that if you have a sim with a high parenting skill with parenthood, then they can resolve the infant's needs very, very quickly with like some kind of special interaction. But other than that, there were no special interactions about, you know, scolding a child or praising them for certain behaviors as an infant. Also, I think it's important to consider the lack of stuff for infants in terms of older packs, because I remember when the Sims 4 Toddlers update was announced, from then forward, many different packs contained some stuff for toddlers in CAS, but it didn't really contain much. But any packs released before the Toddlers update didn't get really any updates for toddler CAS. And it's like, again, you know, from the perspective of a player who hasn't played The Sims 4 for a long time and thought the toddlers were just always there, they wouldn't know that some of the older packs wouldn't come with toddler stuff. Same with the infants. I think it's nice that the Nifty Knitting Stuff pack contains some cross-pack play for toddler clothing, but I feel like with the infants update, they should have updated some of the infants stuff to match some of the more niche aesthetics of some packs. For example, with the Vampires pack, I would have loved to have seen quite a gothic maybe onesie or something for infants, or with the Get Together pack, I would have loved to have seen, you know, the alien diaper thing that you get for alien Sims but on the infants, because as far as I'm aware, I think you can get them for toddlers. Also, imagine a cute little crib for vampire infants. Like, I feel like there should have just been like a little bit more cross-pack stuff, especially for the more niche packs. Or if you own, God forbid, My Wedding Stories, maybe there could have been, you know, a cute little bridesmaid's outfit for infants or something. Do you know what I mean? I'm not going to massively complain about the infants update because I actually think it's a very good update. I'm not going to praise it like, oh my God, this is amazing, because it should have just been in the base game. We shouldn't have had the object babies that the game shipped with when it first came out. Like, babies should have just been, you know, what infants are now. If something was supposed to appear in the base game originally, I'm not going to big it up because it's just a default thing. Call it a free update as much as you want. Like, it should have just been in the base game. Just like Toddler should have been in the base game, but they weren't in the base game when it first shipped. And I remember when EA released Toddlers, there was lots of marketing. Free additional content for The Sims 4. Like, it's not free added content. It's content that was supposed to be in the base game. I've always said The Sims 4 always has been and always will be in a beta state. That's my opinion. But for what it's worth, I think it brings a lot more of the Sims 2 and Sims 3 chaos that I think a lot of people miss. From my playthrough, Sims 4 infants are hard and I like it. I think it's a very interesting challenge. And although there are quite a few bugs and snagging issues, hopefully EA will not abandon infants and they will actually work on fixing them as the game progresses. And all of these bugs and glitches will be fixed. But those small snagging issues aside, I personally think The Sims 4 infants are enough without the Growing Together pack. Apart from the absence of baby changing tables, that is proper cash grabby and that is bollocks. To be honest, it is bollocks. I also do think it is a little bit misleading because a lot of the early access content for infants was packed alongside with the Growing Together pack, and even a lot of EA game changers in the Creator Network who are making videos on it were saying things in their videos like, I don't know if this is base game or Growing Together, and that's because it's not very clear. The Sims 4 pack system in general, I think, is very, very, very disjointed, and I think it makes it very confusing for players in terms of what features belong with which packs, what kind of pack should you have depending on what kind of player you are. It is extremely messy. EA are known for being the most annoying gaming company in the world when it comes to DLC because their DLC is very disjointed and it doesn't make a lot of sense. I'm not totally against DLC. Like, DLC is a good thing. Another game I love to play, by the way, is City Skylines. It's a game about building up cities, basically. With City Skylines, there's something called industries where you can create, for example, an oil industry or a farming industry in your city. But this is completely base game, although there is something called Industries DLC, which basically expands on industries and gives you a lot more micromanagement. This, for me, is acceptable DLC. It's also a lot cheaper than Sims 4 DLC. Like, like honestly roughly half the price. So for me, I'm honestly happy to buy that DLC because I love the idea of micromanaging industries, and I always do it when I play the game. With The Sims 4 Infants, I think it's important to look at it from a similar perspective. Do you want the ability to micromanage your infant's growth? And looking at it from that perspective, honestly, I can see why that a lot of infants gameplay is locked behind the Growing Together pack. There's a lot of family dynamic gameplay in general locked behind that pack. Therefore, I, to be honest, do find it relatively justifiable. Not for the price point because it is way too expensive, but I do think it is justifiable from a gameplay perspective that it is quite niche. Not everybody's a family player and cares. So I actually 100% get it. I'm not 100% condoning it because Parenthood exists and there needs to be infants gameplay added to Parenthood too. I think it's unacceptable that it's not. I also think there should be some other general cross-pack stuff, but in general, I don't think it's a massive issue. I personally feel like infants in The Sims 4 base game alone are fun enough to play with, and I think even if you don't own the Growing Together pack, it's not going to be a major problem. I know that's shocking coming from me because you all think I'm this hater that complains all the time, but I think it's genuinely fine, like completely fine. As I said before, it should have been in the base game to begin with, infants. I'm not going to be like, yes, EA, let me rim your ass because I love it so much. Like, that's not me. For what it's worth, I think it's a nice addition and I'm happy it's there. If you haven't seen my initial playthrough of The Sims 4 Infants update, you can check that out here or watch the other video here. Otherwise, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.